to this new episode. I'm very excited to um, share new tips and advice with our listeners. And today's topic is actually very serious and very sad because it's about the loss and grief because of the importance of a person that we loved and we lost. And grief is a very private and individual thing. And everybody grieves differently in different pace. And in our previous episode, we discussed about shooting at school and um, mass murders of kids. So I would love to say that one of the greatest, the most painful um, experiences and losses that anyone could experience is the loss, the death of a child. And anytime you grieve a loved one, it is going to have an impact because it is not just about that person who was lost on that day. Actually, there is something called the trickle down effect throughout the whole family tree. So every member of the family is affected by the death of a loved one, death in the family. And after losing a child, parents get stuck in that moment of death because they don't allow themselves any memories. They feel this tremendous irrational blackout because they feel that they should have protected their child and they feel the guilt that cripples them, makes them feel trapped. Um, and parents often are very focused on the day the child died, and they're not able to focus on the good days, on the positive aspects of that child's life, because they don't allow themselves to remember the birthdays, the celebration of holidays, and when their child learned to speak or walk or ride a bike. They don't allow themselves to be happy, to smile, because they feel that it was their duty to protect their child. When I spoke to one grieving mother that lost a daughter, she has told me that she feels so stuck in this grieving process that she's not able to take care of her other children. And the whole family is impacted. And this woman told me, when my child died, the part of me has gone. And she said, I didn't know I can miss someone that much. She also said, my daughter was my world because she was mini me. And I don't know how to move on, she said. And the saddest thing that she said was that she didn't get to say goodbye and she didn't get to say how much she hurt. So I tried to help her by telling her that she should spend the rest of her life celebrating her daughter's life and that she shouldn't allow that forgotten by her death because um, you could never foresee something so horrible like the death of your child, like that your child is going to be stabbed at school or shot at school or maybe killed in a car accident or kidnapped, because parents' mind can never go there, can never imagine that kind of painful scenario. And the parents need to realize that they cannot prevent what they cannot predict. When I spoke to this mother, I've also told her that she should focus on what would her daughter want and what would she say if she was here. I've told her to imagine that in front of her is an empty chair. There is her precious little girl sitting there. And I've told her to close her eyes and to focus on the feelings and everything she wants to tell her. And that she can say goodbye, that she can say how much she loves her, how much this daughter meant to her. And this was very helpful for her because I said, what would your daughter say if she could speak to you now? Would she say, Mother, I want you to suffer for the rest of your life because you didn't get to tell me how much you loved me, or you didn't get to say goodbye to me? And I've told her that it would be a double tragedy in the family if she, as a mother, would neglect the other children, and if she would be totally dysfunctional adult and use and abuse drugs or alcohol or overdose with medications one day. I've told her that it really is a chance to accept and recover from this loss.
Mm.
And now, Barb, I would love to hear your thoughts about this topic.
Yeah, I think that loss of child is, yeah, as you said, is the most painful thing which can happen to the parents, and especially they cannot prepare themselves for it. And even then it is. But I think that what we see in that is that lack of community which used to be when people live more connected as the families or community, because your parents need the time for them to process that loss, and but also the children, the siblings need to work through that. They also lost a child, but a sibling, is it? They lost also a member of the family, and I think that that's very often overlooked, how the children are reacting on the loss of their siblings. And it's very often say, you know, you didn't love them as I so much as I do love them, or it wasn't your child, so you don't suffer so much. But that's actually not true. They suffer also, and also because for them it's that double thing, that they see that parents suffer, they don't want them to suffer. And very often there is no pay any attention to their needs and their emotional needs to process that. So when was the more community, like there would be somebody else, it would be grandparents, or it would be some auntie or uncle, or somebody in community who would take care more about children to elevate the pressure on the parents, so children will get that comfort they needed, but also care they needed, to give the parents the time to recover and let them, you know, to learn to live with that loss. And now when it's everything often depending just on the parents, there is lacking of that community support, then we often see two extremes, as you mentioned. One is that the parents withdraw themselves quite almost completely from the care of the other children or partner, and close themselves, and yeah, very often can end up in some unhealthy behaviors and coping mechanisms. Or that other extreme is like suppressing that grief completely and focusing, you know, only on that daily life, keep going, and forgetting to process that loss. And that's usually coming later in life, and it's bounce back. And issue is that very often they come to that numbness, they come to that like suppressing that emotions, and so they keep going, keep working, keep caring, like physically, giving the food on the table and wash the clothes and take children to the school, but they often change their relationship, they become very colder. Or third possibility, that they become very obsessive about with the care about their children, about their safety, and that's to some level natural reaction. Of course, they don't want to lose the other ones, but again, it's can have very negative effect on the children, the surviving children, that they feel like they are imprisoned and in family, that they not supported in being independent and build up their strength, stuff like that. So it's kind of overbearing of the parents. So it's loss of the child, especially, and traumatic and violent, the loss of the child. It's a huge effect on whole family. And that is also very their statement about loss of the grandparents. Often there's expected that they would they would be the one who step up to the care, and there's not really much giving the time and space, and actually that what they also need, that they lost a grandchild, because that child has many relations. They have siblings, they have parents, they have grandparents, they have uncles and aunties. That's everybody grieving in different way. Of course, we expecting that the parents have the most significant reaction to it, but very often when would have the close relationship, for example, auntie with the niece or something, will be affected with same way, because it's if the grandparents when they feeling that loss of the future of the family. So I think that it's really important to realize that grieving is the process, and we can speak about 5, 4, or 7 stages of the grief. It's depend on which psychologist we will take in, but they all kind of agree on that the first thing is kind of numbness, denial, and that's natural because it's the way of protecting us from overwhelming feeling of that too much pain coming on. So that first kind of numbness or denial, helping us to process. It's not just about deny that it's happened, but it's about that ability to actually start to accepting it without that enormous overwhelming feelings, which we can see sometimes in the reaction of the parents when they really are losing the mind, we would say, really losing that coping with that overwhelming painful emotions of the loss. So I think that what you suggested to that grieving mother was really good, because it's about that realization that the child is gone, but we has to focus on passing the way what was good, what time be grateful for time we have with that child, and what is the future, because the loss really is about grieving the future, and because we are not having that opportunities with that child anymore, we will not see them grow, we will not see them graduate, have wedding, have first child, and but it's opposite way, same way it's for the children. If they lost a parent, then that grieving process of children who lost a parent, it's very long term, because it's kind of resurfacing every time when it's some significant event in their life, and they realizing that the parent will not be there, they will not be part of that future. So it's definitely a very serious matter, but it's important to realize that is the part of the life, and we need to learn to move forward and realize that we are always connected. That just because somebody died, we didn't absolutely lost that connection existing. Still, that love we have for them didn't disappear. That wasn't just taken away, and it's because we know that bond have even mother with the unborn children. It's of course it's a part of the family already, and it's really important to give people space to grieve and time, and try to help them to move forward, not get stuck in that grieving process.
Yes, Barb. And as you nicely explained, the role of the community, of family members, of neighbors, of the closest family is very, very important. And even people or parents in these moments feel that they don't believe in God and in despair. But we should, as a community, encourage them to to go back to church to reinforce this power of prayer, spiritual life. It is very important as therapists to explain to people that, to our clients, that we will never be able to take the pain away of losing a child. We can only help them go through this process of adjustment because they have to adjust and go to advanced level from denial to anger, sadness, and they need to go through all the stages of grief and loss. And it's very important that they don't isolate themselves, and especially because their heart is ripped out. And if they see someone at the grocery, on the street, a neighbor, a friend who is offering to come and help them and sit with them and cry, they should let them. If they offer to come and fix your dinner, they should let them. Let people come to you and help you. If people offer to come over and watch your kids, let them, because they know that this pain isn't gone. It's always going to be there. But when we accept the loss, we finally are able to move on with grief. We are never going to move on without the grief and the pain of losing a loved one. Also, it is very important to give this pain a voice and get it out and encourage the children to do as well, because it is really important that children don't go back to their room because they're scared to they don't want to say something to hurt their mommy or daddy and upset them. And if everyone is isolated and grieving alone, it is more harder for everyone to overcome this. They should share this pain and this grief, divided and isolate themselves and separately go through this, because parents are the biggest teachers that we have. And when they experience the loss of a family member, they should give their children a lesson how to grieve and how to accept the loss of a loved one. So uh, if we need to teach the children in these situations that when we lose the people we love, we do cry, we do feel hurt, and we do get past it. We do move on, but we move on eventually with pain, and we accept that now we have um, new reality without this loved one. We have new circumstances and we have to move on. Um, Also, it is very important to say that sometimes when people experience a loss of a spouse or a partner, some people are married in 6 months. Some people are completely different. They have completely different attitude. They don't get married for 10 years or if ever. So everybody grieves differently. That doesn't mean that they don't grieve the loss. That just means that they're accepting it differently, depending on their age, their past trauma, their mental health, their life experience. And people should have more toleration inside the family, because sometimes when parents lose a child, there will be days when one parent is feeling um, is feeling better in a way that he copes better. He copes
Mm.
better with the loss, and the other one is still extremely sad, extremely depressed, extremely hopeless, isolated. And this parent could feel like, oh my God, my partner is not grieving that much as I am. But that's not true. They're just coping with the pain differently. And there will be also days when this partner will feel better, but the other one will be down emotionally, totally bankrupted.
Mm.
And these parents can give to their kids what they don't have. They don't have the energy, the ability be committed to their needs and to dedicate their time to their children. That's why the role of the grandparents, as you said, Barb, of the family, uncles and aunts, is very important, crucial for the kids, because they also need to learn how to process. Um, and this feeling of denial is just a defense mechanism, because they need to gradually accept what's happened, they need to process it, and they can feel a lot of numbness. And they can be confused, just like the adults are feeling confused. Parents feel a lot of guilt when it comes to playing games with their other children, because they feel this is not right. My child died, and I'm here smiling and playing with my other children or celebrating birthdays. Of course, they want to do that for their kids, but the inside feeling is self-blame and guilt. They need to really get the professional help and counseling. There are professionals who specialize in grief, loss, and bereavement, and they can help them go through this process of self-forgiveness and releasing this guilt, this irrational blame, because they feel that their duty is to protect their kids, but they also have other duties, to nurture their kids, to care for them, to love them, and they did all that, but they couldn't prevent something like that. It's out of their control, and they can also find a way of taking back the control in their life if they try to change some circumstances of their life, and to, for example, sometimes people move to another town or sell the house because there's too many memories, too much sadness, and the grieving process is harder. Sometimes they relocate to another country because they want to start over with their family. They change a job, they go to a different place, and it gives them they take the control back.
Yeah, but it's really important to realize how it's affecting that family, because very often when we can speak with the children or young adults whose siblings die and this happened, they feel very unfair treatment for them, and it's causing like secondary trauma for them, because they start feeling that nobody taking their feelings in account, nobody cares about what they want, so that they has to be uprooted, change the school, lost the friends. So like on top of already hard situation for them or losing the sibling, then they're losing everything. So that their loss is actually like multiplied, and they feel ostracized very often, and their feelings are not actually accounted for. So it's really important to realize how much the loss affecting things, and that none of the extremes actually working really well. Full taking everything off, moving somewhere else, and kind of start over and almost pretend it didn't existed, it didn't happen, and try to kind of just go with life on almost on any cost. It's causing suppression, it's causing this secondary trauma for family members. Also staying in that, like not changing anything, like rooms changing to the shrines, and not touching anything. It's also unhealthy, because there is no really that movement forward, that realization that the child would be adult and the child would move out, and need to be maybe make the space for needs of that other children, or that it's really unhealthy, like that protection of that memory in that level. So as with everything in life, the moderation is the key, and find that time when the family will leave that memory, when they would speak about that person who died in the positive way, and reinforce these positive memories and how we used to play this, or how we, and yeah, it will bring sadness, but that's okay, because sadness as emotion, it's the emotion which teaches us what we love, and so we reminding ourselves when we going through that sadness, about that love we have, and that's actually positive. So that love not going anywhere. We didn't lost to be loved. We didn't lost to be able to love, and because of sadness, trying to teach us what was the real value of that relationship, that loves together, or you know what it was, what we was getting from that relationship. And so yes, everybody has some like different speed of or different pace of grieving, and it's for everybody it's different. But when we kind of speaking when to see the counseling, when to see the therapist to help, is when we'll be taking more than a year. That year is kind of like that time when our mind, we have the time to process all these all phases, or they are not always going in the same order. Some people saying I have the, it's true for some people the orders of it's slightly different, or they're going kind of more together, like, you know, up and down slightly. So it's not exactly somebody saying, no, I'm not grieving in this order. That's okay. You know, we are all different. But if that person is not managed to kind of move forward and get to that acceptance and to that hope, or to that, you know, adapt to that new life, because exactly as you said, it's adaptation to the new reality in 1 year, that is really important to do something with that, and see the professional help, because then we call it really grief, and we call it the person stuck. And I had the one client saying like a therapy is never helping, like going through all stages. The therapy is always trying to, you know, end it. And I said, yes, that's absolutely true, because it is natural process. It's have some, it's our own pace, and if it's moving forward, it will clear out, and we will adapt to that new reality of the world. As with everything else, maybe learning to the new reality when the child is born, it's also, you know, we learning the new reality of completely change our lives. We changing reality when we start living with somebody. We changing reality when we move to towns and going to a completely different job. So our mind is ready to be able to adapt to the new reality we living in, if we allow it, if we kind of gave ourselves the time and that space, and that going forward. But when we get stuck in any of these spaces, if it's in denial, or if it's in numbness or anger, then it's needs, then is the role of the therapist to help to end it, help to move beyond that, and get to that final stages. So I think that it's important to realize that we don't need or shouldn't need a therapist immediately with lost occur. But of course, if somebody getting stuck in one of the phases, for example, very extremely in anger or very extremely in denial for a long time, then it's very helpful to speak with some professional. But that is the one thing that often people trying to, I don't know how to, like, cheer up or tell people some kind of quote which will be kind of positive about what's happening. And most of people who going through loss are very annoyed by that, because they would say like, they don't know what I'm feeling, like why keep people telling me that. And for many it's much more refreshing when they actually start speaking about like this new reality of the world, or just kind of admit like that's really awful. And it's because of that we need that realization of that new reality, to get to that acceptance, get to that, and yeah, nobody knows how that other person processing things. It's a reason why very often, or why loss of the child, for example, often affecting the partnership, because of course the both partners are acting different way. Very often we will find the men are of course be most closed in, the women more open, and or opposite way, the women will close themselves off and cut off them after the total like isolation, and men will keep kind of keep going and trying to, you know, take care or keep providing and stuff like that. But the both needs that grieving, and what is most important for parents, that they need it together. They needed that together, and unfortunately too often we kind of see that blame or one side to another, like you didn't love him enough because you're not crying all the time, or you cannot ask me to like let it go because you don't understand how I'm feeling. And that's not true, you know, like, yeah, father and mother feel a different way, but that's not true. And sometimes it's underestimated, that grief of the fathers over lost child, but because it was their child together, they also need to go through it together, and that isolation one or other way, it's was breaking the relationships, because that bond is of course in that very fragile, and but going through that together, it's strengthening that bond, and it's important to realize that need of speaking about the child, need of remembering, and say goodbye, as you said in the beginning, that because that woman has struggled that she cannot say goodbye. We still have opportunity to say goodbye. It's like we can say it in any time in our life to goodbye to somebody who died, because that connection is still there. We can communicate with the people. Some people working, going on the graveyard and speak with them, or have like photo to which they speak or something. But it's important to process it. Or for example, even for siblings, that often like funeral itself is not what they understand. It's too quick after what is happening. So it's why it's very useful, for example, memorial services, maybe, you know, a few months or even a year after, when it's actually allowing that really that closure, that adapting to the new reality, and space and time to really remember these positive things, and remember these everybody who were affected by that loss, and give the chance to everybody express their emotions.
Yes. There may be a range of emotions that are going to come at people, from anger to denial, shock, depression, and these emotions can come to you at any order, at any time. They can surprise you. They can be very intense sometimes, or less intense. And for some people, grief can be more hard to process. They have severe symptoms compared to other people, and this is called a complicated grief, when they grieve over a year and they don't progress or advance to another stage or level of grief. And they can have symptoms like extreme sadness and feeling extremely depressed, hopeless, and having the need to isolate themselves, sleep disturbances, increased use of alcohol or drugs or tobacco, and they have difficulties in social situations, at work, in family life, with relationships, and the tasks of daily living. So the grief can have this persistent pressure on people's life, and sometimes they have the thoughts of suicide, because the pain is unbearable. It's not about that they don't want to live, especially if they have more kids and family, but it's about escaping the pain. And if this goes through someone's mind who's grieving right now, they should ask for immediate help. This is the right moment to really ask. And you need to know that you're going to work through some pain, and some of these emotions will surprise you and will come to you in unexpected moments, unexpected ways. But there is no one who can tell you how exactly to grieve. There is no exactly the formula of grieving or the period, the months that should pass. But you're right, Barb, if it's more than 1 year, it's really a time to seek for professional help, because it is really hard to accept a future without your loved one, because it's your new reality. And sometimes people who lose their entire family in car accidents or natural disasters, they say, "I've lost my past and I've lost my future. I don't see a thing." And they do consider suicide, but finally they give up from this idea because they think that in a spiritual world, in heaven, they will not reunite with their loved ones,
Mm.
and they come back to religion. They go back to this spiritual level of finding the purpose and finding the new meaning in this new reality. And you said correctly that couples uh, grieve more effectively together when they give support to each other, when they don't isolate themselves, don't do it separately, especially when people experience losses like miscarriage, pregnancy loss, or stillbirth. Um, the pain goes for moms and dads. Sometimes you can hear people saying, or yeah, family or family members saying, okay, she lost the child, she's grieving. It's hard for her, but it's also hard for the father as well, because they conceived this new life, this child together, and they had expectation to have a healthy baby. But instead of that, they're facing so much pain and so many complications, because um, they, for example, if they were expecting siblings, twins, or triplets, or more than 3 kids, and one of them had died, they have to face the loss of one child and the birth of another child, of a twin. So their situation is even more complicated, and women also have this physical aspect of recovery from this loss. And it is better to cope with loss together, and to help each other and to embrace each other. Um, they may feel alone, depressed, disappointed. They can feel guilt. They can feel like they're punished, or they can feel they're afraid to tell their family what happened. Sometimes the mothers who lose their children feel like, oh, maybe I didn't get the right vitamins, or maybe I should have rested more, and they blame themselves. So parents always find ways to um, take some irrational blame for the things they couldn't prevent, and they couldn't, of course, escape that situations. In some situations, couples drift apart and they mourn the loss of a child separately, and they don't give support to each other. And women, when they don't have the support of their partner, they find other people, friends or family, who will support her. And men usually uh, use alcohol and drugs or medications, and it is creating more pain in the family. That's why people should be um, very should be united and shouldn't help each other go through this together, because this is very hard for both of them. And uh, grieving is the vital step in accepting and recovering from your loss. People should get the support they need and find a specialized therapist who specializes in bereavement and loss. And this is very complicated situation when parents experience a miscarriage, um, or they don't have anything physical, they don't have um, a body to bury and say goodbye. But sometimes at stillbirth, they can collect mementos of the baby, like handprint, print or footprint or lock of hair, and it is recommended to see their baby, to give it a name, and to say goodbye, and honor the child's memory in a way that is meaningful for you. Sometimes when parents don't have the body to bury, it is recommended that they should uh, plant a tree or flower bed or somewhere in the backyard or local park, or donate to an organization or clinic. Women at risk, the expectant moms, they can donate for playgrounds or orphanages, and they can find a new purpose and a new way of coping with this loss by taking these steps. And they should also focus on taking care of each other, because grief is a very self-absorbing feeling, and they should maybe also consider going to grief counseling together, and they are the ones who are going to decide when they feel ready for another child, for another baby. Nobody can tell them when is the right time. Um, Turn to religion and don't face the world alone.
Yeah, I think that personally, I am spiritual person, but people can find and help in many charities who support bereavement if they are not spiritual. So it's okay to go and seek the help in charities or communities which supporting the bereavement process. As we in our podcast Way Out of Childhood Trauma, speaking very mainly and focusing on recovery from childhood trauma, I want to say to the people who maybe start recognizing that they are maybe slightly triggered, or they are reacting to these words about maybe loss of the sibling or loss of the parents and how it's affecting their life, and maybe they developed anxiety or depression or panic attacks, and that there can be root in it, that if their lives was so severely impacted by events in their family, that's also can cause the childhood trauma, yeah, because it can be the level of taking up responsibility, which to more level than the child should be, because the one of both parents can start lacking the ability in that moment to take care of the younger siblings, or sometimes even younger siblings take up the responsibility to take, start doing things, or getting that lack of support, the lack of the loving, comforting care, and leads to that feelings of loneliness, feeling of depression, and a feeling that I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, because they grieve the other one, but they overlooking me, or my life is uprooted, nobody cares, doesn't matter what I'm saying, doesn't matter what I want, my feelings are not important, and can develop issues as issue with this public speaking, or having the outburst of the anger, because that is there somewhere suppressed there. So childhood trauma is not just that something happened in the way of physical abuse. It can be emotional neglect, which can be as a result of loss of the sibling or loss of the parent. So I just want address those who listen us, and maybe realizing that their issues could be related to their loss as the children, loss of the parents, loss of the sibling, or witnessing the violent event, and then it's a loss of innocence, it's a loss of reality as was before, then and you maybe develop these symptoms as insomnia or panic attacks or depression or feeling not be confident and feeling not finding what you want in life because you're feeling that you don't deserve to have that it's also important to seek the help and if, for example, working with the hypnotherapy and that's really very effective, the therapy for this, because as we say, the process of the grieving is a process of taking in account all these emotions which came with that loss, all the level wide range of emotions of loss and sadness and anger and feeling of disconnection and feeling of loneliness. And if that process didn't went through, the emotions got stuck. And with hypnotherapy, we can help to release them, we can help to let it go, and realizing that it wasn't your fault, that it's nothing was your reasons, and that there should be somebody, that should be that community, that should be somebody who would take care of the children affected by what's happened and provided comfort, explanation, listening ear to their emotions. So if you will feel that this is your story, that you the one of the lost children, and I know that, for example, it's especially in US, it's quite a lot of children affected by that, the children of the soldiers which didn't come back home from the war, also everywhere else in the world when the parents are, for example, soldiers, or if your family was affected by the illness of, so it doesn't have to be just violent attack, it can be illness, the sibling die, or of some genetic disease or cancer or leukemia. So it's important to realize and work through it. And if you feel that you have some mental health issues, can seek the help, because that can be very much linked to what's happened to you as a child. And even if people would say like, yeah, that's happened, but it was so hard for parents, and it's often forgotten what is actually happening for the other children in the family. And most of children put up very brave face and just hold it all in, because they see that the parents are not in that moment emotional capable to help them. So I would just want to give people hope also after this very hard topic, that it's possible to help. It's possible to help people with stuck grief and help them to move forward, help them to that. But I work with people who, for example, I work with one lady and which she struggled with the confidence, she struggled with that that she has the right to be successful, that always kind of end up in the same situation, starting something and not finishing it. And we find that underlying issue was there, the death of her father when she was little, and that that underlying belief that she doesn't deserve to be happy if he's not there, and he doesn't see that, and is he lost, and the child confused about what's actually happened, and what was her role in that, what's happened. So after we worked through that and we able to release that emotions from the past and get to that understanding what was her real role in that episode of her life, she was able to change that attitudes and beliefs and become confident and become happy and actually start remember these positive memories of her father, what he liked and what she's after him in positive way, and you know, kind of reconstruct that relationship with that father, how he would be proud of what she achieved, and not just be stuck in that feeling that he left her and she's alone, and she's living in that belief that she just deserved to be happy because he died.
I remember of one case of a woman who, when she was 11 years old, she lost both her parents in a car accident, and she also lost her leg. And for her entire life, she was having pain, and a lot of pain in her entire body, in different illnesses. And it turns out that she never grieved the loss of both parents, but she also lost her childhood. She also lost a body part. So there were a lot of losses in her life, and sometimes we can experience the same symptoms, for example, when we have a divorce or breakup or um, terminal illness diagnosed or job loss. The symptoms can be very strong, but for all those who have experienced the loss of a loved one, they should be aware of the fact that in the first month after experiencing a tragedy like this, there is a higher risk for heart attack and stroke. It's actually 20 times higher risk. Um, so if you know someone who is experiencing a loss of a loved one, um, take care of that person, call them, offer to help them, offer to cook them a dinner or take care of their kids and make their life easier a little bit, try to make them feel that they're not alone, that they're not going to face this alone, and try to recommend them a therapist. As Barb said, hypnotherapy can be very effective because we can access the trauma from decades ago, go back in childhood and find the cause, the root of any problem. And we can help people go through this process of grief, um, uh, and they're going to feel that they're not alone, that they have new perspective because they need to accept the new reality, and their kids are also experiencing that there is a new reality, and they need to model for those kids. They need to teach them how you grieve and how you um, go through the pain and move on with the pain. It is very important for every person. For example, when people experience they have a bad relationship or bad marriage and the person dies, they even feel worse because there are so many things that they feel sorry for and regret for saying some things and doing some things to that person. So it complicates the situation even more if we had a very bad relationship with someone, but we still love that person.
Mm.
And the guilt can also be overbearing, and the best way to release the guilt is therapy, through the therapy, and take the time you need. Nobody's forcing you to go through this process quickly. You go through denial, isolation, anger, depression, acceptance, sadness, go through all the stages in your own pace. Because, as I said earlier, there is no exact formula how to do this. And cry if you have to cry. Show your kids, cry in front of them. Show them that they should give this pain a voice. They should cry and let all the emotions out. Because I remember Marissa Peer saying that every emotion that is not expressed will cause the other organs to weep, and it will affect it will affect your physical health as well, and maybe contribute developing some autoimmune illnesses or some illnesses that have very sneaky symptoms. The symptoms don't show for many years. So I would recommend everyone to work with a good therapist, or that people should go to group therapy sometimes, or family therapy, because it's really going to lessen the sadness. It is never going to relieve any pain, but it's going to help them cope with life and everyday activities.
Yeah, I think that the group therapies are really good, because then it's that connection, and that connection which is needed for releasing it, and speak with other people who go through maybe similar process. It's really useful to be able to express it and hear others to express their feelings. It's encouraging the process of expressing them and letting them go. So that is really useful. So we will conclude today's episode about grief. We know that one way how a lot of people coping with unprocessed grief is overeating and trying to numb that feelings, and trying to suppress that emotions which are in, and for many reasons, not just for grieving, but also any emotional pain caused by traumatic events which happen to them or they witness, or they part in family which is toxic or abusive behaviors there. So in our next episode, we will speak about what are the reasons beyond the overeating, and how we can change that, how we can change the mindset and behavior to be able to recover from that, and get to that healthy eating and healthy life. Oh, thank you very much, Lala, for being here with me. Always pleasure to speak with you about these topics. And thank you to everybody who listened to us. We have the great response for previous episodes, so we thank you very much for all messages we got, and we hope that you will enjoy also this episode about the grief. And if you want to contact us and leave us message, or ask the question, or seeking the help, you can find us on the Facebook as the Your Step Counseling. It's me, Barb, Miss Varclova, or my freedom therapy, Danijela Mrdak, and we will be happy to listen to any questions. We are happy to answer any specific questions in our podcast, or see if we would be the right person to help you, or navigate you or reference you to the therapist we think that will be best fit for you. So thank you, and bye for now.
Thank you, bye.